This edition of MacVoices is brought to you by Squarespace, the all-in-one platform that makes it fast and easy to create your own professional website or online portfolio. For a free trial and 10% off your first purchase, go to squarespace.com and use the discount code MacVoices. Welcome to MacVoices. This is the Talk of the Mac community. I'm Chuck Joyner. Folks, the road to Macworld iWorld 2014 is getting short, but that just means the anticipation is getting more. And I can't wait to be there, and I hope that you are going to join us. This time, though, we're going to talk to our friend Chuck La Tournous. He is doing a session, and I got to read it, folks, because none of these are short session names. Tech vs. Wild, Surviving Your Next Campout and Other Natural Disasters with High-Tech Gear. Chuck, it's great to see you.
Chuck, great to see you. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Hey, it's always fun. It's always fun. So you're going into the great outdoors yet again.
Yet again. This is actually the third year that Macworld has been kind enough to let me make this presentation. And of course, we continue to expand and update it. And the real impetus of it, of repeating it, has been that the field has changed so dramatically over the past few years. You know, when I started this, we were pretty much limited to solar panels and some kind of clunky iPhone cases. But things have really exploded since then. In fact, at last year's session, it was after I delivered my session, Tech vs. Wild, I went out on the floor and found all sorts of new, brand new gear to do a lot of the things that would have been perfect for the session. And that's what sort of made me think, I need to do this again. This is not sort of a one and done session. It's an ever evolving category. And, the more you delve into it, I think the more exciting and the more fun it gets.
Yeah. Sometimes when you see repeat sessions on the schedule, you think, well, I saw that last year. But there's some that are not, they're not evergreen. In fact, they barely make it off of the stage when you present them. Like you say, then you get on the show floor and it's like, oh, great. There are new things I really should have told people about. So, but this time though, it sounds like you're going you're giving equal time to natural disasters versus the whole outdoor life thing.
I think we're going to ease off the natural disasters part of it a little bit last year. We introduced that last year after Hurricane Sandy, and it seemed like a very topical thing to include because a lot of the gear has dual uses. You can use it in a camping situation or sort of an emergency survival situation. And I'll go into that again, but I think if I show people how the gear works and mention the different use cases, I think we can sort of focus on the fun part of it and let the experience of using the gear come into play if and when, God forbid, it should be necessary.
I agree with that. I think it also is important, though, that you do show the different use cases because it makes it a little easier to justify some of these things that they might be toys, they might be more than toys, depending on the situation. So the more reasons you can find to get some of this stuff, the better.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I'll tell you, during Hurricane Sandy, my house was a very popular place for people who wanted to charge their iPhones and their Galaxy Gears and all sorts of things. Because I had my solar panels going, I had my geoelectric generators going, all sorts of stuff. So people were coming not only to see the cool gear that I had, but to put it to practical use because we were all out of power back then.
Chuck, if you don't mind me co-opting the conversation just this much, you mentioned solar panels, and that's something I'm always kind of curious about as to how effective they are at charging, say, an iPhone or an iPad. Because, the yield wasn't always that great for a long time. Yeah, you could get a little something out of it, but you had to leave it in the sun for hours and hours and hours. Has that changed?
It really has, and that's part. It goes back to what I talked about, the ever evolving state of the industry here. Back when I first started this, the most popular solar panels were what are called polycrystalline. I think I said that right. They sort of look like fish scales if you looked at the panels. What they've evolved into now are what are called mono. I'm pretty sure it's crystalline. I'll have to check that again. I'm a little fuzzy on it. It's been a long time since I talked about it. But monocrystalline panels that are much more efficient than the old ones used to be. So, whereas you used to have panels that were, this big in order to charge your phone, now they're probably half of that size, and they'll charge it in a matter of hours, a matter of single-digit hours versus, having to leave it in direct sun all day. And back then, you even needed to make sure you were constantly turning it so that it was in direct sunlight all day. Of course, solar panels still aren't going to work on cloudy days or at night, and that's why we have some of the other methods. But the state of the art has gotten a lot better on solar panels.
And from what you said earlier, it sounds like it's gotten a lot better on a lot of things. So
yeah.
Thank you for that question, because it's one that always comes to mind, and you would be the guy to ask.
Sure.
So where do we go from here? What kind of things are you going to bring to the table this year that we can justify buying and having some fun with?
So we're going to break the session down into a few different segments and talk about different use cases for what you might need when you bring technology on a campout. And then even before that, we'll have a little discussion on whether you should bring technology on a campout. I think that's evolved too. It used to be the case where technology was just purely a distraction from what was going on around you. It was a Walkman. It was, texting your girlfriend. And I'm talking about my days as a scoutmaster now, because that's what I was used to dealing with. We had the mantra, no technology on campouts, no electronics on campouts. But these days, technology can actually enhance the experience out there. It's like walking out with an entire reference library at your fingertips, so you can identify leaves or animal tracks or the stars. And there are apps for all these things that can help you with that. It can help you with navigation. So, rather than carry a full-blown handheld GPS receiver, you can use an app that does at least as good a job on your iPhone with it. But the problem is, as I've probably said many times, is that I've never seen a tree with an electrical outlet on it. So what do you do when you lose power on these devices? So that brings us to one of the first categories, and that's charging your gear while you're in the wild. We'll also talk about protecting your gear while you're in the wild. We'll get into some fun things that you can do with both apps and other technology that's not Apple related at all. And then finally, I'm going to spend a fair amount of time on what I think is one of the burgeoning developments in the industry, and that's ruggedized cameras and camera cases. And we've come just so far in that field. It's just it's a lot of fun to deal with.
And that's a pretty important thing, because if you're going to take this gear with you, it's not like taking it to the office. It's a hazardous situation, and usually it also means you're taking a lot of dollars worth of gear out there. So you need to protect it as well as use it.
Yeah, and there are different kinds of protection you want for different instances too. So if you're going on a scuba adventure, you're going to want a different kind of case than if you're going mountain climbing and may drop your phone 40, 50, 100 feet. It used to be the case where when you had rugged iPhone cases, that they were really hard to get the phone in, and you risk damaging either the phone by scratching it or the case by prying things apart because they were just put so tightly together. OtterBox just came up with what I think is just a beautiful solution. It is the Armor case, right? So it's a little big, right? It's going to be a little bulky, but this thing is a brick. I mean, you could run it over with your car, but the really nice thing about it is that it's hinged. Let's see. Yeah. So you just pop the hinges open. Of course, I won't be able to do this on camera now. But then it just comes easily apart, right? You just pop your phone right in there and close it up, and you can be ready to go in a matter of seconds versus wrestling with this thing and trying to pry things apart, and different silicone layers and plastic layers and all that kind of stuff. And again, once it's in here, this thing is practically indestructible. And that's one of the things that you want to look for is military grade cases are what are specially rated to prove that they can be dropped from, there are different levels, but one of them 6 feet onto concrete and things like that. So you really know what you're getting. But great, and not a bad looking case, I think. Protection doesn't have to be ugly.
Oh no, and it looks a lot better than some of the earlier ruggedized cases that really did look like bricks, and unattractive bricks at that. This edition of MacVoices is brought to you by Squarespace, the all-in-one platform that makes it fast and easy to create your own professional website or online portfolio. For some time now, I've been telling you how easy it is to get up and running with Squarespace, how you don't need to code, how all you need to do is make a few choices, select a few options, and bang, your site is online. And all that is 100% true. But what if you want to dig deeper? What if you wanted to find out just how powerful Squarespace can be? To find out all the things Squarespace can do? No, I'm not talking about coding or anything like that. I'm talking about the features that are built into Squarespace that you might not ever want or need. But if you do, they are there, just waiting for you. Squarespace has some amazing documentation under their help section. Documentation called guides. They cover everything from the basics like getting started, connected accounts, and content blocks, but also things like training on search engine optimization, or SEO, integration with services like Google Analytics, Shopify, and Typekit, and settings to add passwords or even inject your own code. But that's only if you really want to. If you're still afraid that you won't know what to do with your Squarespace site, there are even video walkthroughs to help you build that site. Now, I don't think you will need them, but if you do, they are there, just like all the other great features of Squarespace. And that's what makes Squarespace Squarespace. Just when you think you might get ahead of them, they smile and politely point you to what you want. They never mention the fact that it has been there all along, just waiting for you to catch up. You need to find out what Squarespace can do for you. Whether you want to recite your recipes, feature your photos, or sell your stuff, you can do it on Squarespace. Sign up now for a 14-day free trial and then get 10% off your powerful new site with the code MacVoices. That's 10% off your first purchase with the code MacVoices. Do it now and your new site can be online tomorrow. Or today if you hurry. Squarespace. Everything you need to create an exceptional website. Thanks to Squarespace for sponsoring this edition of MacVoices. And it's fun to go to Macworld and go to the show floor and watch people dropping iPhones from various heights onto concrete, or, I forget, last year I think there was somebody pounding on one with a hammer, and right. It's like, okay, I'm glad that's your phone, but exactly. it makes the point, that you can, because hopefully you will never pound on your phone with a camera, or with a hammer, excuse me.
No, but dropping it off a cliff is probably, pretty close equivalent to it. So, it's good to see they can take that kind of punishment.
Yeah. What are you doing on the cliff in the first place, Chuck?
It's where the mountain is.
Thank you. Yeah, another thing that always, and it folds into this, because of some of the extreme weather we've had, you love to see the on-scene weather people with their iPads out in the weather, trying to hold on to them, and some of them have plastic bags, and some of them obviously have some of these ruggedized cases. So there's a market for this for a lot of different reasons.
Yeah, absolutely. And, that's sort of an extreme protective situation. If you want some others, there have been a couple really neat developments. LifeProof now has what they call the nude case. It's very protective, right? But kind of stylish and slim. Doesn't add a lot of bulk to the phone. But the cool thing about this one is that there's no screen protector on it. So you still get the nice feel of the oleophobic screen on your iPhone. But a lot of protection that goes along with it. I don't want to drop this one off a cliff, but again, you pick the case for the situation.
Right. And I've gotten over the idea that there is a best iPhone case. Now I have multiple cases, like you say, for different situations, for different needs, and you realize that it can be a very flexible thing. It's not that you're ever going to buy just the right one, because hey, you don't buy just one coat. You don't buy one pair of pants. You buy different things for different seasons.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah.
So we've been spending time here talking a lot about gear, but how about just techniques or other hardware other than just Apple tech?
Yeah, sure. A couple of my favorites, and this is one that I may have shown as a pick around Christmas time, but I'll risk showing it again. This is something that I saw right after my session last year, and it's the PowerTrex from MyFC. That's the company that makes it. And this is a hydrogen-based iPhone charger. So the cool thing about this one is it pops open. You put what they call a little puck in this side, and you put about 2 tablespoons of water into a reservoir on the other side. And the material in the puck reacts with the water to separate the hydrogen out of the water, and that's used to charge an internal battery on this, which in turn can be used to charge your iPhone. So the nice thing about this one is that you can leave this at camp and let it charge up to charge the internal battery. And then after you come back from a day of hiking or whatever, you can connect your iPhone to it at night and get a full charge so you're ready to go the next day. So I like that one a lot. That's fun. The other, we'll stay on the power generating kick for a little bit. This is called the Power Pot. And this is the Power Pot 5 because it generates 5 watts of power. It looks like an ordinary backpacking pot, if you've ever seen one of those, except it's got this little plate on the bottom of it and a wire that comes out here. So you sit this on any stove you want. So you can use your own backpacking stove, your own 2-burner camping stove if you want. And as this boils water or soup or stew or whatever you're having for dinner, it generates electricity from the differential in the heat, in the temperature from the bottom of the plate that's on the fire and the inside of the pot, which is presumably cold with your cold water or snow or cold soup or whatever you're starting with. And then through the wire, it just has a regular USB port on the other end, and you can charge your iPhone from there. So, dual use. I'm all about multiple uses and efficiency. So while you're cooking, you can be charging.
Yeah, if you are carrying this stuff around, you definitely want at least dual use.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah, and that's always the trade-off, right? With any kind of gear you bring on a camping site, it's always a trade-off between luxury and the inconvenience of having to carry the gear. So you want gear that's as light as possible, that you really need, and preferably serves more than one purpose.
I love this session because it really goes to show that tech has a place everywhere, even the places that you wouldn't think it should. And I'm especially interested in your comments as a former Scoutmaster that, no tech in the woods. And now you've switched over and it's like, yeah, there is a good reason for it. And it's not a crutch anymore. It's a learning tool. And that just says a great deal, I think, about the evolution of things.
Yeah, absolutely. If it can enhance your experience, there's no reason not to bring this stuff on a trip anymore.
So your session, I think, is Thursday at 4. Do I have that right?
Yes, that sounds right.
Yeah, yep. Thursday at 4 on the conference track, of course. But that's not the only thing you're doing this year. I also believe you're going to be on the Macworld live stage with some friends.
Yeah, for some reason, somebody thought it'd be a good idea to get the Macworld All Star Band together without our instruments and without an open bar, and see what kind of reaction we get from the crowd in that situation. I'm not really sure what the topic is about. I think it's going to be, essentially we're basically a group of longtime Macworld attendees and technologists and geeks. So I think we'll just kind of be reminiscing about the way things have changed over the years and the kind of things that we've seen. I don't think we're giving music lessons, and we're certainly not going to be doing any a cappella singing at the session. So, but it should be a lot of fun.
Yeah, well, a couple of years ago, I think we were able to get everybody together on a MacVoices in preparation for that year's Macworld. And I mean, you guys, when you get together, you're all crazy, or crazier than you are normally. It was just a whole lot of fun. So I think this is going to be a terrific session with, a lot of fun too. But Chuck, it's interesting. This unit, the All Star Band, has become yet another unusual part of the community because you've played at so many Macworlds. It's just I'm not quite sure you would want to hear that you're part of an institution. That might scare you. But it
always
really
wanted to be institutionalized.
Yeah, but it really is true. So Chris Breen and I talked a couple shows ago about the fact that you all played at the Mac 30th anniversary.
Yeah, that was a very special event, and I think I speak for the rest of the guys in the band when I say that we're very honored to have been asked to do that. We got to open the show, as it were, on the same stage where Steve Jobs unveiled the original Macintosh. And in fact, there was an original Macintosh sitting on a table, with the tablecloth on it and the bag in front of it, just as it was back then 30 years ago. To be able to share the stage with people who have actually gotten the chance to know over the years, like Bud Tribble, and the names even escape me now. It's just overwhelming to think about. But to think that we're in some way some small part of this whole thing at this point, it's pretty humbling.
Yeah. I can only imagine, because I thought it was just fantastic that they would ask you all to do that. Because as everyone knows, help me out. Don't let me leave anyone out, Chuck. It's you, Dave Hamilton, Bob Levitas, Brian Chaffin, Chris Breen, Dwayne Straub. Did I get everybody?
And the big man, Paul Kent.
And Paul Kent. My God, how can I forget lead guitar? Paul Kent. Oh, sorry, Paul. Yeah, I was trying to go across the stage and I missed the lead. But yeah, you guys are not just you're parts of the community. You really make up the community, and then to do something, create something like this is fantastic. Yeah,
I think so, and I don't think any of us envisioned it back when we started. 10, 12 years ago, whatever it is at this point, especially after the way we sounded that first job. I thought that was, I didn't think they'd ever ask us back, but apparently we've gotten a little better since then.
Well, and of course, that's going to be Sans Instruments, but then you're playing a little party with your instruments a little bit later.
Sure. We'll be back at Cirque de Mac on Friday night. I think it starts at 8 o'clock. Invitation only, but if you see one of us on the show floor, we may have a ticket or two up our sleeve. So, say hi nicely and we'll see what we can do. This, as we say, this one goes to 11. This is Cirque de Mac number 11. So, we're all very excited about it. And, I should say that it's Cirque de Mac number 11, but we've done a few other parties before then. So I think this is, I don't know, the 14th or 15th gig that we've had, because there were a couple years where there were 2 in 1 year.
Yeah.
We've almost had 2 weeks of rehearsal.
What a concept. What a concept. Well, I know I'm looking forward to all of it, from the sessions, the conference sessions, the show floor, to the Cirque de Mac party and the Macworld All Star Band. And I really appreciate you being here and giving us a little preview of your session.
Oh, my pleasure. Oh, I forgot one thing.
Oh, yeah, please.
We were talking about non-Apple tech, and I'm wearing this jacket not because it's cold here in my little museum, but because this is a Scotty vest jacket, and as I realized how much gear I'm starting to carry on these camping trips, you always have the problem, where do I put it? If I put it all in my backpack, well, then I can't really access most of it when I want to. I have to stop and take off the backpack. The folks at Scotty Vest make some really cool clothing. You can't see the whole thing in here, but this is a nice winter jacket that's got about, I think, 811 pockets in it that let you carry pretty much everything that you can think of, including a full-size iPad, without making the jacket look bulky. I'm not really sure what kind of magic they do to accomplish this, but this jacket even has a special pocket and a ring, so you can carry your water bottle in your pocket, and it'll keep it in place for you. So it also has what they call a personal area network, so you can thread your you can thread your earbuds through the jacket, so they're all ready for you, and you have your iPod in your pocket. And, just a very neat thing. So I'll also be showing this at the session.
Yeah, I have a Scotty vest, travel vest, that just, it doesn't matter what time of year, that's what I put on, and I can carry a lot of tech with me. And of course, that also means that when you go through security, you just take the vest off, lay it on the oh God, what do you
conveyor belt.
Conveyor belt, thank you, Chuck. Conveyor belt, and pick it up the other side, and everything's right in place.
And if you forget to take it off, put it in the conveyor belt, you'll find yourself being frisked pretty quickly once you go through that metal.
Yeah, with batons and guns drawn, probably.
Oh, yeah.
Because you're carrying so much. Yeah. I think Scotty Vest is going to be at the show this year.
Yep, I think so.
So, yeah. So go check that out. You could be dressed like Chuck.
That's right. Yeah. Well, aim a little higher than that,
okay? Chuck, it's great to see you. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Chuck. You too. We'll see you in Macworld.
Yeah, we'll see you in Macworld.
Okay.
Folks, I'm not going to get to say this too much more, but I'm going to say it this time. Chuck will be at Macworld. I'll be at Macworld. Everybody off from the road to Macworld will be at Macworld. We hope you will be too. Until the next time, thanks for watching. Visit MacVoices.com for links, show notes, to subscribe, to connect with Chuck on Twitter, app.net, Google+, Facebook, and LinkedIn. Subscribe to our weekly newsletter, the MacVoices Dispatch, to stay up to date with all the latest MacVoices news from our front page or at macvoices.com/newsletter. Advertising and sponsorships handled by Backbeat Media at backbeatmedia.com.